it was actually his wife who was doing the abusing, and most of this punishment was behind closed doors. I actually had to ask her to leave. He says in a very gentle, soft voice, I was very careful. She controlled what he ate, how, and when. Turn into this vengeful beast. It was as if towards the end he became empty, like a shell of a man. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to the Medium's Table. I'm your host, Michelle Gardner. This podcast is your personal invitation to join me at the intersection of the everyday and the extraordinary. Together, we'll explore the magic of mediumship, share spiritual stories, and connect with fellow mediums on this incredible journey. So grab a seat, pour yourself a cuppa, and come join us at the Medium's Table, where spirits gather and stories unfold. On today's episode, I'm going to be sharing with you a reading where a spirit came through who was in a marriage of control, otherwise known as domestic abuse. And in this instance, it was actually his wife who was doing the abusing. She is also in spirit and tried to cut in on the reading. As mentioned in previous episodes, I seem to bring through a lot in my readings stories of hardships, secrets, dark secrets, life experiences where there's been trauma. Now, today, I bring you the reading from a photo I was given of an elderly gentleman that has passed. After I did the reading from the photo, I gave the reading to his daughter, Emma, and she has then confirmed for me what was true and verified what her father had said. Now, the real names in this reading have been changed for privacy reasons. I will call this gentleman Thomas, and it is his daughter Emma who is verifying the information that I've given through this reading. Here's what I received. The first thing I hear is, people don't know everything. There's punishment. I was aware of what this meant after the reading, as he was referring to the life he led, and most of this punishment was behind closed doors. I felt there was a lot of hardship. There was a lot of hard times for him until about the age of 23 or 24 years old. Now, when I say I felt that, if you've ever been down on your luck or you've had hard times, Spirit will use this experience to show you what that feels like. And it's like it recalls a memory for you or recalls a feeling or an emotion. And that's how Spirit can use you as a conduit to express how they feel and what has been happening in their life. Sometimes that's how they'll bring it through. Now, Emma, his daughter, confirmed that he did grow up in the Great Depression. I feel there is someone around him that is very protective of him and very controlling. I know this person is on the other side as well and is a female. So as I start to do the reading, this woman comes in and you can feel that she's protective and she's quite, she's strong, but she's wanting to, you've got that feeling where she's trying to push her way in. She was trying to cut in on the reading and run the communication between him and I. She does not feel like a very nice person, quite bitter and controlling. She was coming through telling me I could talk to her now. Now, she did come through exactly like that, someone who was pushy, someone who was quite rude. I could hear her and I could feel her. I actually had to ask her to leave so he could step forward and speak to me directly without her interfering. And it was also confirmed by Emma that this controlling female was actually her mother, or otherwise known as Thomas's wife. This relationship with this lady, which I soon realized was his wife, was really exhausting for him. And I mean really exhausting. I could feel his weariness. But it's almost like he felt obligated or stuck in this power play with this woman. I hear another lady come in. She's a different lady in spirit. And she's saying, let me tell you about him. Now, she feels a lot nicer. She feels more calm and gentle. She actually feels quite lovely. It is as if he doesn't want to talk directly. He has someone else that wants to talk for him. So it's like he's trying to bring in someone else to communicate with me. And that's when I start to realize and understand that he was either deaf or there was some kind of communication issues or he had difficulty communicating. Emma tells me after the reading that he did actually have difficulty communicating due to a severe hearing loss. So he's bringing this through to show me that there was something wasn't quite right. Now, spirit can still communicate, but he wanted me to know this, and this is how he brought it through via bringing in other people to talk for him, feeling like there was some difficulty around the communication aspect. Now, his wife, who was controlling, I see her keeping him from family. I see her shut the front door when people left and then turn into this vengeful beast. And it's like if someone tried to visit him or came to visit, so if someone was, trying to organize visitation or they literally turned up afterwards when they left, he says to me, she was absolutely livid, so angry. Now, Emma does confirm her dad would have done whatever he could to not make her mother angry. As I hear Thomas's voice and the feel he brings to me, it's like he sounds very meek and mild, and he says in a very gentle, soft voice, I was very careful. What he's referring to is he was very careful to not upset this woman. And Emma confirms that, yes, he was mild and gentle. I see Thomas's daughter in her mid-20s. She has stood up against the mother. During the reading, I see and hear them arguing face to face, and I mean arguing. Now, this daughter is not actually Emma. This is another of their daughters. And the daughter is trying to defend her father in allowing him to handle situations in his own life rather than her mother being so domineering and taking over every aspect for him. Now, Emma does confirm her elder sister had the hardest time getting along with their mother and was very close and protective of her father. Thomas shows me a large barn out in the country on top of a hill. It overlooks the countryside around it with a tractor near the barn, and I feel he was a man of the land. And Emma does confirm that he was a farmer. He shows me a tree that seems to be somewhere on the farm. It stands on its own in a paddock or a field. It's quite a large tree, and he admires that tree. It means a lot to him. It represents a place where he could find a little bit of peace in such a controlling situation. Now, Emma does confirm that there were many trees on their farm, and you might be thinking, well, it's a farm. Of course, it's going to have trees. Okay, so in Australia, we can have farms that are stripped of trees. They're just pure fields for growing, and harvesting. There are some farms that have a lot of bushland on them. So there are varying types of farms here in Australia, but this family was actually from another country. So Emma does confirm that there were trees on the farm. He shows me a dirt road, and next to it on the left-hand side, there is a large pond, a marshy body of water with reeds and plants growing out of it. It is a natural body of water nestled at the foot of hills. The road was next to this. This was on a road that they would have driven on quite regularly, as he shows me this out in the country. Emma confirms there was a lake, a county lake, she called it, only a couple of miles away from their house. Thomas loved his porridge. He loved his breakfast, and he also indicates to me that his portions were very controlled. He always just wanted a little bit more. But his wife would not allow that. She controlled what he ate, how, and when. I see where the kitchen table is. It's quite an open room, like an old farmhouse made of wood. The floors were wooden. The kitchen table was wooden. Quite old time, quite old-fashioned and dated. Now, Emma confirms their house was an old wooden farmhouse, and yes, the furniture was quite dated. Thomas was very weak towards the end. He couldn't speak properly. He shows me his daughter spent a lot of time sitting with him towards the end while he was still at home, just to be there with him. It was as if towards the end he became empty, like a shell of a man. He became more distant. It was like all parts of him just faded out. His mind, his will to live, like he became non-existent inside of this body. Emma says her father had Alzheimer's at the end of his life, and he was very distant and not very coherent during that time. She also confirms they did sit with him for some time prior to his passing. Now, as you can see by this reading, spirits can come through bringing memories and evidence of what their human life was actually like and what they endured during their life on this earth. This gentleman chose to bring me this story, his story, this part of his life. Communicating with the spirit world is just like communicating with another living person. They will choose the topic and still have free will to talk about whatever it is that they choose and whatever it is that they want to share with you. This is something you cannot control. They are the ones controlling the conversation. I might be able to ask questions, but if they choose not to answer, that is also their choice. I have experienced many spirits who choose to release and share to unburden themselves of trauma, life's most difficult or challenging moments, their dark secrets. This brings them healing on the other side and the opportunity to release a trauma or situation they may have never have been able to speak about while they were living. Once their story has been told, this gives them the opportunity to free themselves of the emotional burden surrounding the trauma or situation, bringing them healing and finally the opportunity to be heard. It brings them peace and it can also bring them closure. And many a time in the family hearing these readings may not have known about their situation or may have known about it, but, didn't realize the severity. This can also help to bring them closure as well and more understanding, and many a time put so many family stories and rumors, can set them straight. We'll have many, many more episodes of these type of readings coming up. Happy, sad, incredible, phenomenal, amazing. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to seeing you very soon on the Medium's Table. Thanks for joining me at the Medium's Table. The universe is always speaking. Listen and let your spirit soar. Curious for more? Click on one of the videos below and remember to subscribe.